called 10 different ways to get SaaS customers. So let me just do one slide about me and about my company, and that should hopefully give you some information as to why you should trust me and I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm Ryan. I'm founder, CEO of Rocket SaaS. Launched the business 5 years ago. I've since bootstrapped it from nothing to $1.5 million in annual recurring revenue. So this is the growth of the business. This is the growth of the business over the last 5 years. Pretty steady growth for the first 3 years, plateaued around the 1 million revenue mark, and then things really have flown in the last 2 years. And what I'm going to teach you today, these 10 campaigns, these are 10 of my favorite campaigns that I've introduced into the business that have really helped this growth. And there's also a mixture of campaigns that we've done for our clients that's helped their growth as well. So we are obviously well, I shouldn't say obviously, you may not know this, but we are a marketing agency for B2B SaaS companies. So we've done this growth with these 10 campaigns for our own growth, but it also works for our clients. So, for example, we have a company called Fon as one of our clients. We implemented a lot of these campaigns, a lot of these strategies, philosophies. We took them from 15 leads a month and all the way up to 75 leads per month, and they got acquired by the Access Group. Also, it works for small companies as well, startups. A lot of you are startups that perhaps haven't even launched a product yet. One of our clients, SurveySphere, came to us at that stage, got them to over 50 leads a month within the first year using a lot of these campaigns that I'm going to go through today. If you like what I've got to say, if you like these campaigns, then you're really going to love the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast. This is a weekly podcast that goes out every Tuesday, which is essentially me and or my colleague Jamie giving you tips on how to create effective marketing campaigns, how to scale the business. So that's enough about me. That's enough about the business. I'm now going to go through these 10 different campaigns. So there's a cold email offer in here, talking about creating a sub-brand, a benchmarking ebook, a waitlist campaign, creating a rhythm, the podcast plus repurposing, breakfast events, LinkedIn polls, consultative selling, and then just like an overall LinkedIn content message. I'm going to go through each of these. And like I said, all of these have been absolutely instrumental in the growth of my business, and a few thrown in from some of our clients as well. So yeah, hopefully you walk away with some inspiration from this. So first of all, yeah, the cold email offer. I thought I'd start with this one. Now, cold email, I'd say traditional cold email rarely works anymore. I think a lot of you that are on this webinar will either be doing cold email now and you're frustrated with the results, or you've done cold email in the past and you've turned it off. It's getting harder and harder all the time. And the same can be said for cold calling. And it's mainly because most cold email campaigns for SaaS companies is that you're cold emailing these people that have never heard of you before. There's no brand awareness, and you're trying to get them to book a demo. You're trying to get them to give up their time, but they've never even heard of you before. It rarely works, and it works less than ever right now. So to get a cold email campaign working, what you need to do is you need to stop asking people to give you something, i.e. their time, and you need to start creating something valuable for free and start dishing that out with cold email. And I'm going to show you an example in a minute. So if you do that, your response rates will go up dramatically. So I want you to think about what can you create that is valuable to the person that you're sending this cold email to, that is potentially worth money. It's that good of a thing, and you're offering to give it to them for free. So for example, it could be an audit. So let's say if you're, I don't know, for example, if you're an AI company that helps other businesses improve their AI processes, could you potentially give someone an audit of their business, of their processes, and that audit will tell them what they can use AI to streamline their processes? Or maybe if you're a cybersecurity company, could you do a free audit of their website or their domain name settings and just send them that audit? If you were some kind of an e-commerce SaaS platform that helps e-commerce companies reduce their abandoned cart rate, could you send them a report, like an audit or maybe a Loom video that was like, this is why you're getting a lot of abandoned carts. This is where your e-commerce journey is broken. Just giving them something for free. Maybe giving them a growth plan, maybe some kind of competitor comparison campaign. You could email them and be like, hey, I see your competitor name is absolutely crushing it at the moment. Would you like me to send you a report on why they're crushing it and you're not? You know, if you receive that cold email, a lot of people are going to say, well, yes, please. So the key in this, or where it really works well is when you are offering to give them something and they don't need to give you anything in return, including their time. All they have to respond with is say, yes, please, send it over. So those first three that I mentioned, you can do that. The bottom two, like requesting to do a strategy session or requesting to do a free consultation, they can work well, but they won't work as well because this requires them to jump on a call and give you their time, which people are very reluctant to do if they've not heard of you before. And most people on this webinar are startups, relatively early stage businesses that don't have that brand awareness. So let me give you an example of something that worked incredibly effectively for my business, which is, hey, first name, I've been on company name website. I have some ideas on improvements that you can make that I am 100% confident will increase your conversions. Would you like me to make you a Loom video and send over my suggestions? Or should I send it to someone else? By the way, this is totally free. I do it for 5 companies per month, 5 tech brands per month. So what I'm doing is I'm offering you something of value and I'm not even asking you to jump on a call. I'm offering to audit your website, send you a Loom video. I presume you know what that means. It's just like a video recording of me going through your website, and I'm going to ping it over to you. And when you watch that video, it's going to give you instructions on how you can improve your website to get you more leads. So we've sent this email out to tens of thousands of people. We also have a clever system with Clay where we identify where companies have just raised funding, and then we ping this email to them because we basically know they've got money. And so we get a very high response rate from this. We basically get like 5 responses per day of people saying, yes, please, I'll have a Loom. So then it's up to you. I think if you first start doing it, depends where you're at with the business, like how desperate you are for leads. What I do is I then qualify them. So my list of original people is relatively qualified, but then when people start to respond and say, oh, yes, please, I'll have a Loom, then we look into them. We go on LinkedIn. Have they got a decent sized company headcount? Do we think that they could afford to work with us? Are they a good fit for us? And then I respond to them. I don't just send them the Loom straight away. I then respond and I say, I just want a little bit more back and forth to know that they're committed and know that they're up for this. So I might say, oh, okay, so tell me how many leads is the website currently getting? Or what are you struggling with the most? So you can kind of guide me in doing this audit for you. So then you're having a little bit of a back and forth with them. So they're already invested in you. They've already given you a little bit of their time, attention. They know who you are. They probably clicked on your email signature. They may have been on the website. And that's obviously where we need to get people to be. And then when you send the Loom, it's just a 5-minute Loom video. You don't want it to be a big, long, drawn-out thing. Well, it depends on your deal value. But you want to be able to knock these out relatively quickly. Send the Loom. You will get ghosted by quite a high percentage of people. But, some people will start to respond and you can land some really big deals this way. We've landed like massive deals from this, and it's been a real strong revenue driver. So I would say it only works for SaaS brands that are kind of medium high ticket. If your SaaS product is like $20 a month, this doesn't really work. It's not really worth your time. But if it's anywhere like mid-ticket, high ticket, this can be a really effective way. And it's a bit clunky at first. It'll take you a while. You'll have to re-record the Loom video multiple times. But as you get in the rhythm of it, it'll get easier and easier, and you can just knock them out. And then, if you're the founder of the business, you can then train one of your salespeople to do it, or you can hire someone on Upwork to start doing these for you. So you just, and then it's just happening on autopilot. But yeah, have a little think. What do you think that your business could give people for free? I think Loom videos do work really well. And yeah, those things where you're not asking someone to jump on a call. So that's very effective. Won't work for all of you, won't be suitable for all of you, but if it is, then I highly recommend that. Another way to get cold email working is, instead of doing, bottom of the funnel, and this goes for cold calling as well. So we have an SDR, and we've actually changed his strategy. We're no longer asking our SDR to call people up and ask them to sign up to our marketing packages. We now get him just calling and emailing people, inviting people to webinars and inviting people to in-person breakfast events. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm moving the call to action higher up the funnel. If you're only doing cold email at the very bottom of the funnel, book a demo, do a free trial, it's really going to work. You want to keep doing it, but something higher up the funnel. Webinars, lead magnets, events, offers like this, giveaways, that's where cold email is still very effective. So that's my advice for cold email. The second tip that I'm going to give you is the sub brand. So if you ask me, like, what are the top five best decisions I ever made in the business that's really helped scale the business to over 5 million in revenue, this would be one of them. This would definitely be in the top five, which is creating a sub brand. So we have Rocket SaaS, which is the main brand. That's the brand that we sell to, we sell with. We're a marketing agency for B2B SaaS brands. And what I was doing, I had a podcast and I had an email newsletter under the Rocket SaaS brand, but it just was kind of struggling, wasn't really getting that much engagement. So then I created a sub brand called SaaS Marketing Weekly, and engagement just went through the roof. I didn't change anything else. I just created a sub brand. And the reason why it worked is because when you pump out your top of funnel content through your main brand, like podcasts and newsletters, people are skeptical. People think, I'm not signing up to that newsletter because I'm just going to be put into some nurture sequence and I'm going to be sold to. Or I'm going to sign up to that newsletter and it's going to be really boring, like company news, industry updates I don't care about. So that's the reason why it doesn't really work so well. So when you create this separate brand, it can be much more sort of friendly, appealing, helpful, less intimidating. So your followers, your subscribers basically goes through the roof compared to if you're doing it through your main brand. There's just a lower perceived sales pressure. People think, okay, this brand is here to help me. It's not here to sell to me. And you just get more trust from cold audiences. And you can also have a bit more of like an authentic tone and personality. You can like have a little bit of fun with it. You can be a bit more lighthearted with that sub brand if your main brand is a bit more, professional, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I highly recommend that. And what I've done with it is I've bought the domain name, SaaS Marketing Weekly. I put a landing page, so saasmarketingweekly.com. I've got a landing page on that domain name. And then we put ad budget on Meta and LinkedIn, driving people to that website, or that landing page, I should say. And it's purely just trying to get people to listen to the podcast and subscribe to the newsletter. And like I said, people are coming onto that landing page going, great. No one's trying to sell to me, nothing kind of intimidating here, no traps. It's just a helpful thought leadership brand that's going to give me tips on how I can solve my problem. So that's where you get a lot of top of funnel activity. And then like every piece of content that you should do, or not even every piece of content, but most pieces of content that you put out through that sub brand, there should be a subtle call to action to your main brand. So it should be something along the lines of, I hope you enjoyed that tip that we've just given you, that piece of advice. If you are looking for an expert to really help you, solve that problem for you, you should check out our main brand. And so, yeah, that's a really great way to get the top of funnel content going. I meet a lot of companies that are really struggling with the sort of engagement, basically, with their content. And this is a great way to kind of ramp up that engagement. And the other thing I would consider is putting your face to it. So putting a personal brand to it. So when I started this journey of this sub brand, it used to be SaaS Marketing Weekly by Ryan James with my photo on it. And again, it just makes it much more personable. It makes it people less skeptical about it. People like to follow people. People don't like to follow companies. So, if you're investing in your personal brand, this is a great place to start. So create a sub brand with your personal brand attached. So people think, okay, this man or woman, they know what they're talking about. I'm going to follow them. I like them. And then don't be surprised when people then choose that they want to go on and work with you and pay you money. So that's a great thing to do. We've done that for a lot of our clients. It's worked really, really well. Then there's the benchmarking ebook, not something that I've done for my business, but we've done this for a lot of our clients. And again, got a lot of engagement at the top of the funnel for this. So a benchmarking ebook, you being a SaaS brand, by your nature, you have a lot of data. So you have all of your customers using the platform. So you should have some really interesting, insightful data in there. And what you can do is you can create a benchmarking report. Obviously, you don't want to be revealing any of your customers' names and getting in trouble for that. But if you aggregate the data, you can hopefully find some really interesting stuff. And the reason why benchmarking reports work really well is because humans are naturally inquisitive. we want to compare ourselves to others. So if you were running a business, so for example, if you take me, for example, I'm running a marketing agency. If someone created an ebook to say, here's the typical average metrics of other marketing agencies in the UK, in terms of like how many clients have they got, how much revenue have they got on average, what's their average retention rate, what's their average churn percentage, I would 100% download that because I want to know what my competitors, what's the benchmark of my industry, because I only know about my own business. So if you can do that and you can create this really enticing benchmarking ebook, you're just going to tap into kind of human nature of them wanting to understand, okay, is my business in the green, amber, red? How am I doing? So for example, let's say I've got some examples down here. So if you were having like an e-commerce platform, if your SaaS platform was like helping, I don't know, e-commerce businesses reduce their wait time in customer support, you could easily get that data and you could say, on average, an e-commerce buyer waits 93 seconds for a support ticket to be answered. That's the average benchmark. And then all other data points in there. And then you can just create an ebook about that. You can create a landing page. You can create ads. And I've seen those perform really, really well on LinkedIn. So yeah, this screenshot here is one that we created for one of our clients called Stora. They have a SaaS platform for like self-storage container units. So they took all of their data of all of their clients and said, this is the average like occupancy rate. This is the average cost that people pay for self-storage. So all the people that kind of they were targeting really interested in learning that. So yeah, I highly recommend that as a campaign. The next one is a waitlist campaign. So yeah, again, this works particularly well for B2B SaaS brands. We've launched this for a lot of our clients, and it's amazing to launch a feature or launch a new version of the product, and you have hundreds or thousands of people that have already signed up and they're waiting for it. As opposed to what most SaaS brands do is that they heads down, launching the new feature, working on the new feature, they launch it, and then the marketing team have got to try and market it, and the sales team have got to try and sell it. So a waitlist campaign can work really, really well. So I presume that most of you that are listening to this or watching this, your dev team, your product team and or your dev team are working on stuff. Most SaaS businesses are. You've got that, I don't know, version 2 coming out, or you've got that new awesome feature that's coming out, or you spoke to your customers and they want that feature and you're currently working on it, or you're currently working on some new cool AI thing that's coming. So rather than the product dev team just being heads down working on it, marketing can utilize that. So marketing can create a waitlist campaign, which is going to be a landing page is going to be the central point. This one on the right hand side here is an example. A landing page to say, we've got this really cool thing coming, this awesome feature, or this, I don't know, this whole new product you might have coming, or version 2 that's coming. It's going to have all these amazing AI things or whatever. If you want to be on the wait list, all you have to do is sign up with your email address here. And maybe you might want to add a sweetener in there that says something like, anyone on the wait list gets a discount, or you get first access, or something like that. And the reason, again, it kind of comes back down to psychology, that's basically everything in marketing, is that you only have to be about 15% sure of your interest in a product to sign up to the waitlist, as opposed to I have to be about 75% sure if I'm going to sign up to a demo. So you can see the massive difference there. So you're basically going to get a lot more leads, a lot more people signing up to that waitlist. And as I said earlier, it's incredible for when you actually launch the thing, you've got hundreds or thousands of people that are just there ready for it. So you're undoubtedly going to make sales. But also, you've got leads coming in. So if a lead comes in, you can then add them to your email newsletter. You can then nurture them. You can convince them that the current version of the platform is worth signing up for. They've got that brand awareness to start seeing you in their inbox. And it can just be that amazing, just like first lead magnet to get people in the door. So what you can do is you create the landing page, and kind of like how I described earlier with the ebook, is that you then use LinkedIn ads, potentially Meta ads, potentially even Google ads, organic work, email newsletters, and just try and drive as much traffic to this landing page as possible and make the new thing that's coming sound as cool as it can be. And yeah, you can potentially get a lot of signups there and a lot of leads coming into the business. So I think that was everything that I wanted to say about the waitlist campaign. The next one is creating a rhythm. So everything that I've sort of told you so far and some of the other ones that are coming up are these like one-off campaigns. Now, one-off campaigns are great. They can drive leads, they can drive a lot of revenue, but they are what they are. They are one-off campaigns. And eventually the juice kind of runs dry from those campaigns. And though one-off campaigns have been great for me in the business growth and great for a lot of my clients, but what I've realized, like the penny really kind of dropped for me, I think last year, when I realized that, yeah, those one-off campaigns are great, but really it's always on content that really scales a business. It's consistency. It's getting into a rhythm and showing up in front of your audience on a daily, weekly at least basis. Because the people that come to Rocket SaaS and the people that want to work with Rocket SaaS, they often say that the same thing on every sales call, which is, I see you guys everywhere. I've been following you guys for a while, or I've just sort of seen you. You've been on my mind for a while. I've just seen you everywhere. And I know why that is because we're just creating so much content and we're just hammering the right people with all different variety of content. So it's often referred to as always on content. And most businesses, a lot of you listening, watching, are probably guilty of this, is that you only create content when you've got the time. You might have had a little flurry of content in January and you haven't actually done anything since then. Whereas the businesses that really scale is the ones that are in that rhythm and they don't miss a beat and they are always pumping out content. And now with the advancement of AI, you don't really have any excuses anymore to increase the volume of content that you're putting out. You need to be careful with the quality. You know, you don't have AI slop, which is happening a lot, which is another problem, which I'm going to get onto in the next point. But you have to get into that rhythm. You have to stop being a perfectionist, otherwise the content will never get out the door. But you really need to be getting a rhythm. And in terms of most of the content that you should be putting out, like 70% of your content, in my opinion, should be top of the funnel content. It should be educational content. It should be, you need to understand your ICP's problem, your ideal customer profile. You need to understand their problems and you need to create content to help them solve those problems. So that can be in the form of podcasts, newsletters, blogs, LinkedIn posts, videos, like talking head videos or explainer style videos, all different types of content, all helping people. Not selling yourselves about your product, but actually helping people. So for example, this webinar that you're listening to and watching right now. So this is something that we do monthly. This is monthly within our content calendar. We're not selling to you. There'll be a call to action at the end, but the majority of this, 99% of this, is helping people solve the problems. So, and the goal of that is they just start to see you regularly and they start to think, yeah, this company has really helped me, or that person has really helped me solve my problem. Can't wait to consume their next piece of content. Maybe there'll be a few duds in there that they just don't care about. That's completely normal. But if you're just constantly pumping out content, then it won't take long before your target audience goes, yeah, I really like that piece of content. And they start to admire your brand. They start to follow your brands. They start to know you, like you, trust you, which is the marketing saying. So yeah, create a content calendar. So spreadsheet, Google Sheets work really well for that. Just map it out and just give accountability to everybody in the business that needs to get involved in creating this content. So that's the main thing, is getting yourself in a rhythm. And then the next point is kind of tied to this, which is how do you get that content out? So it's all very well creating a content calendar. Okay, we're going to create all of this content. We're going to create weekly content. How do you actually create it? How do you get it out? And how do you ensure that the quality remains high with thought leadership and it's not AI slop? And my favorite way to do it, there's multiple ways to do it, but my favorite way to do it, something that we do here at Rocket SaaS, is it starts with a podcast. So we do a weekly podcast and then we repurpose that podcast into multiple other forms of content. If you ask me what's been the most important growth lever of my business over the last couple of years, it would be this. It would undoubtedly be this. It is the rhythm of content and the podcast repurposed. So let me get into this. So I know what a lot of you are thinking. A podcast is too much of an ask. I don't have the time. I don't have the resources. I'm too shy to do a podcast. I haven't got enough charisma or whatever. And sure, that could be the case. So therefore, you can swap the podcast for an interview. So your marketing executive or even you yourself could interview you as if you were on a podcast. It doesn't have to go public, and then you can repurpose the content from there. But hopefully you build up the confidence to do a podcast, because it's the perfect starting point. You can guarantee you're going to get thought leadership, because if you're the founder of the business, you should be a thought leader. There should be thought leaders in the business, and that person needs to be on the podcast. So you know it's going to be full of thought leadership. And if you do have someone in the business that is a really impressive thought leader or just got charisma, you have to lean into that. It's one of the biggest assets that you have in a business if you've got someone that is just a really good character and they've got great experience and great charisma. If you have that, you have to lean into it. So let me walk you through this like sort of flow diagram of what we do here, and we do this for our clients as well. Is it starts with a podcast. So this image here is me and Jamie in a studio. So that requires time. We have to travel to the studio, and it costs like about 150 quid for a 90-minute session. And we record 2 podcasts in that session. So it's not a huge investment, but it is an investment nonetheless. But it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to actually invest too much time and money into it. So the first, I think, 60 episodes of my podcast was me in this room, just on my own, talking into a microphone, doing solo episodes. That's how it got started. So, and that cost a bit of equipment at the beginning, but then it basically cost nothing. So yeah, don't look at podcasts and think, oh, it has to be like the Stephen Bartlett, Joe Rogan podcast. I have to invest all this time and money and go into a studio. It doesn't. You can start small, like I did. You can just start in your bedroom at home with a microphone. That's all you need. Doesn't even have to be on video. My first 60 episodes were just me on my own, no video, just audio. Very easy to do. So me just giving tips like I'm doing now, basically. Anyway, so we do a podcast every week. Or we do it every 2 weeks. We try and do 2 in one go. So it's not that much of a commitment. So every 2 weeks we do a podcast, but it goes out every week. And then what happens every week is we repurpose the podcast. So we take the video recording of the podcast. We have a freelance video editor that doesn't cost that much money. We hired him from Upwork or Fiverr, I can't remember. And then he uses a video editing software, something like iMovie. He uses something better than that, but you can use iMovie. And then he creates a YouTube video, and then he uploads it to YouTube. So I'm just like out the equation now. He's just doing this on his own. He also uses a tool called Vizard. There's loads of different tools, but that will take the podcast video, turn it into multiple short form video clips, like 60-second video clips, all the sort of clips you've seen across social media. They perform really well on tools like on platforms like LinkedIn, just 60-second clips of me or Jamie saying something on the pod. He will also take the podcast, stick it in Riverside, which is like a podcast software, and then he uploads the audio version of the podcast to Apple and Spotify. Then the other side of it is we transcribe the podcast using a tool like Otter. So if me and Jamie are doing a podcast for 20 minutes, you're going to get like 5,000 words or something like that in the transcript. We then get one of our marketing executives to use a tool called Scripe to turn that into LinkedIn posts. She then uses ChatGPT to turn the transcript into a blog and a newsletter. And we just run that play every single week, and we do not miss a beat. So every single week, there is a YouTube video getting launched, 5 short video clips, a podcast audio episode, 5 LinkedIn posts, a blog, and an email newsletter. And the beauty of it for me is all I had to do was show up and do the podcast, and all of this stuff happens on autopilot because we trained the team to do it. And it only takes 2 freelancers to do it, relatively low cost. And that's how we're pumping out lots of content, and none of it's AI slop because it all comes from that thought leadership at the beginning. So that's a brilliant exercise. It takes a while to get it right. So like the first podcast episode you do will be pretty rubbish, and that's normal. You'll cringe all the way through it when you're watching it back, but that's fine. That's normal. The next one you do will be a bit better. The next one you do will be better than that. By the time you get to episode 10, you'll love it. So you just need to go through that cringe factor. And then the same with this like repurposing stuff. The first time you do it, it'll be really frustrating. There'll be loads of back and forth. Your video editor might not be very good. You might need to get rid of them, get another one. Then, this will be a bit clunky. They'll be sending you Slack messages. How do I do this? How do I do that? And again, that's totally normal. Just next time it'll get better. Create SOPs, walkthroughs. This is how we do it. And then it'll just get better and better and better. It'll probably take about 10 flows of running through this before you feel that it is perfected. So you have to go through that pain. You have to go through that cringe factor. And then you should hopefully stop being a perfectionist as well about everything. And then the content is just getting pumped out there. So that's how we get into a rhythm of creating really good content. And all of that content should also be pumped with LinkedIn ads. So it's all very well creating this content, but if you're a startup with little brand awareness, how are your target audience actually going to see the content? If you post it organically, but you don't have many followers, what's the point of posting it hardly? So you need to be putting LinkedIn ad budget into this content. So LinkedIn budget into promoting your YouTube series, your video clips, the podcast episode, the written post, the blogs and newsletters, maybe not all of them. It depends on how much budget you've got, but you need to be putting that budget into that top of funnel content so that people are seeing it, engaging with it, and then you can retarget them. So I'm not going to go into sort of LinkedIn ads. We've got other webinars on that topic. If you go onto the Rocket SaaS website, click on resources, webinars, you'll see lots of other sort of technical webinars about LinkedIn that can kind of guide you through that in a bit more detail. But that's a brilliant exercise that pretty much every business should be doing, I think, in my opinion. Right, next up, breakfast events. This is one of my favorites. So breakfast events, yeah. So again, they can be similar to podcasts. They can be quite scary at the thought of even doing a breakfast event. But the key is they don't have to be scary. When you think of events, you might think of like smoke machines and waiters with canapes. It doesn't have to be that. You don't have to start there. You can start much smaller. So the first breakfast event that I did, I just went to a restaurant, one called Caravan in London. It's just like a chain restaurant, just booked a table for 12 people and just invited our target audience, SaaS marketers, SaaS founders, invited them along. I think it was a Thursday morning at like 9 a.m. And it was like a roundtable discussion about demand generation, helping people solve their problems, sort of similar to this webinar, really. Just like I'm trying to understand what they want, invite them to a breakfast where we're going to talk about it and help you solve that problem, which for our audience is essentially how do I get more leads for my SaaS business. So we had a roundtable about that. And it was such a low investment. Breakfast is a pretty low cost meal. I think I walked away from that. I picked up the bill and it was like 250 quid. And we walked away with 3 deals in the pipeline, so 180,000 pounds in the pipeline from that. We signed one client. So I walked away by picking up a 250 pound tab. I walked away with a 60,000 pound contract that we're now working with that client. And it was not a big scary event. So that's how you start. And now we've scaled it up. As we ran that sort of small event a few times, liked it, and then I said, I want more. I want more people in the room. So then we hired out the Ivy, and we did basically a live, think of it like a live webinar, similar to what I'm talking to you about today, just a webinar about this is how you solve your problems, this is how you get more growth in your business, invited our target audience and presented to them. And again, it's an incredible thing when you're in a room and you've got like 30 of your ideal customer profile engaging and looking at your content, and what you're pitching to them it's educational, it's helpful, but obviously there's a call to action at the end to be like, well, all this stuff I'm teaching you, we actually do as a business. So if you'd rather just pay someone to do it, have a chat with me afterwards. And we just walked away with a very healthy pipeline. And you can do that too. And you can build up to that. And that is such a great way to just win business, to just get in front of people. Options of how you can do these events. You can do roundtable discussions. Like the future of the industry is a classic at the moment. Everybody's industry is changing so rapidly. AI is just disrupting every industry, and there's so many industries, so many people, so many of your ideal customer that are like, oh, I don't know what's happening in the industry. I don't know where it's going. I know I should be doing AI. I should be automating processes. I should be using new tools. What about compliance problems? What about this? What about that? How about we just get a bunch of people in the room and there'll be an expert that tells you what they think is going to happen with the industry, which hopefully is you. Those sorts of things are getting lots of engagement at the moment. And then there's obviously networking, a casual, no pressure networking. They often work better for like evening events rather than breakfast. You've got panel discussions with industry experts. They often get a lot of attendees. And then the other one, which is the one that I did, is how to solve a problem, how to build a demand gen engine, how to get more leads. So yeah, breakfast events, highly recommend those. The next one is sort of a small one, bit of a hack, is LinkedIn polls. So LinkedIn polls, yeah, there's a sort of fun way to get leads into the business. So when you do a normal post on LinkedIn, like a standard post, don't be surprised when you get like 10, 15 likes, something like that. But if you did the same post, repurposed as a poll, you can get like 100 votes, 10 times it. And the reason why, again, kind of comes back to psychology, is that if you picture those LinkedIn polls, you only see the results of the poll if you vote. So when you see a poll and you think, oh, I'd love to know the answer, I'd love to see what other people have voted, you can't see it unless you actually vote yourself. So it just draws in more votes. And then the beauty of it is that you can see who's voted, and then you can start DMing them. So this one here that I always do every year. What's your number one marketing New Year's resolution? Is it redesigning your website, growing your email list, improving your ad performance, or your new overall strategy? And it's not a coincidence that those are the four services that we offer, among other things. So I've literally got, a lot of my target audience voting on this poll, 116 people. And then we got our virtual assistant to click. If you click on that there, it will reveal all 116 people. So then my virtual assistant goes on all of their LinkedIn profiles and qualifies them. So I think typically there'll be, of that 116, there'll be like 30, 40 people that she thinks, yeah, they're qualified. They're a SaaS company, they're a founder or a marketer, they've got a decent headcount, they've probably got budget, so they could potentially work with Rocket SaaS. And then we send them a DM. So we say, hey, first name, thank you for voting on my poll. I see you're planning a new, whatever you voted on. I've got some slots left for a free strategy call. Do you want to jump on a call? And you'll obviously get ghosted a lot because that's the nature of these sorts of outreach. But if you message like 30, 40 people, you're going to get some people come back to you. You're going to get some calls booked in. So yeah, that works really well. Examples would be, which of these is your biggest issue? What's your number one goal? Those are a couple of classics, but I'm sure you could think of some other ones. And I'd experiment it, experiment with it, try and have some fun with it. People quite like humorous polls. They seem to get a lot of votes, but hard to turn that into sales. But anyway, yeah, that's a bit of a hack that can work really, really well on LinkedIn. Consultative selling. So consultative selling, this is one of the best things I introduced for my business, as opposed to just standard selling, which is you jump on a sales call. Well, I guess a demo. A demo is a standard sell. You jump on a call with the salesperson, he or she just walks you through the platform, talking all about yourselves, your company, your platform. Whereas consultative selling is you kind of flip it. So consultative selling is where you jump on a call with someone and you just talk about them and you talk about their problems and you give them free consultation. And the reason why that works is because, again, it's similar to what I described about earlier, is that you're moving the call to action higher up the funnel. So if you're only asking people for demos, they're at the bottom of the funnel. And the bottom of the funnel is shaped that way for a reason. The bottom of the funnel means there's fewer people there. By doing consultative selling, you're moving the call to action higher up the funnel, where the funnel is fatter, meaning there's more people in it. So in terms of the buyer journey, people, they identify they've got a problem in the business, and then they try and figure out that problem themselves, and then they decide they want to work with someone to fix it. Okay, so that's middle one that I said, the figuring it out themselves. There's more people at that stage. So if you can create a lead magnet, a call to capture people that are in that mindset, you will get more calls. And if you get more calls, you'll make more sales. So yeah, consultative selling works really well. So this is the screenshot from my main call to action on my website, which is a free one-to-one SaaS marketing strategy call. This call to action used to be request a quote, but then we changed it to request a free SaaS marketing strategy call with me, the founder of the business. This is what we're going to, it's going to be a tailored call. We're going to teach you how to get clear on your value proposition. We're going to teach you how to update your website to get better conversions. We're going to audit your LinkedIn account. We're going to talk about what lead magnets could work for you. We're going to teach you how to turn your leads into sales with nurturing. It's all about you. You're going to get so much value from this call. It's not a demo. I'm going to teach you about my product and bore you. I'm going to help you. And by the way, there's no obligation to work with us. That's a line somewhere further down the page. And we only do 5 of these per month. So a bit of scarcity in there. So that can work incredibly well. Again, you have to be sort of mid or high ticket for this to work. You don't want to be doing this, you doing calls with people if the ticket value is really low. But this can work incredibly well for the mid ticket or like enterprise level, and it can it can work for SaaS brands as well. So this is one of our clients. So they're like a AI data company. So their call to action is one of a free bespoke advice on how to get more from your SME data. And what it does, this next diagram here, sort of shows you how it fits in the funnel. So all the stuff that I mentioned to you before about like getting into a rhythm of creating content, creating educational thought leader content, helping people. So you target people with ads and organic and SEO, and you create these videos, blogs, ebooks, webinars, podcasts, etc. So you start to become well known. You start to get you're known, you're liked, you're trusted. If there's a founder's brand that's going into this, that people are really buying into that person as well as the brand, and then people then try and skip straight to the demo, which is a bit of a jump. Whereas if you put this sort of slightly above the bottom of the funnel, the free strategy call, the free consultation, the free audit, it can work wonders. Because people think, okay, well, I love the content that they've been putting out that's really helped me. Oh, they also do a free call, free no obligation chat. It can work really, really well. So yes, I recommend that. Then the final one is to be active on LinkedIn and get and DM engage users. So every single thing that I've gone through today will be far more effective if you have a decent personal brand on LinkedIn, if you put effort into your personal brand. So it's been probably the greatest investment that I've ever made in my career is investing in my personal brand. And I've not even invested any money into it, it's just been time. So about 3 years ago, I set out to just be active on LinkedIn. And I set myself a goal of posting between 3 and 5 times a week on LinkedIn and just engaging with other people, creating videos, just doing more. And it's been a long old slog. But I've committed to that and I've hardly missed a week. And now I've got, I think, 15, 16,000 followers. I'm relatively well known in the space. So therefore, every campaign that I launch, every campaign that I do is far more effective because of all the effort that I put in previously. All the campaigns that I mentioned today, most of them will work, even if you are unknown and you don't have a personal brand. I'm just saying, if you put effort into your LinkedIn and you start to become well known in the space, it will just multiply so much. So yeah, this simple graph here, the more effort you put into your personal brand, the more effective these campaigns are going to be. So it's things like daily posts, insightful comments of other people in your space. Creating video content is really powerful. And then not just creating sales content all the time, creating helpful, educational, thought leadership content. Obviously, don't forget to do the sales content as well. I actually leaned in too heavily to top of funnel content. I used to only do top of funnel content. And people used to think, oh, well, that Ryan guy's nice. He creates a lot of helpful content. No idea what he does. So then I started to balance in. Introduced the 80-20 rule. So 80% of content I put out was thought leadership. 20% was sales content. And then our sales just rapidly went up from there. So, don't lean too heavily into it. Right, I think that was obviously the 10 that I went through. So we're going to do some Q&A in a minute. One, I did say I was going to do a call to action. If you are a B2B SaaS brand and you want to scale your marketing, if you're thinking about investing in your first marketing manager, Rocket SaaS are a brilliant alternative option for that. We're roughly the same price. Pricing starts from 5 grand a month. I'll give you a whole marketing team to do the campaigns that we talked about just now, but we'll also do many other things like basically creating you a whole marketing strategy, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Meta ads, creating campaigns like that, creating content, getting you into a rhythm, basically becoming your outsourced marketing team. Or if you're a slightly bigger SaaS brand and you do have marketers in-house already and you just need more of a strategy, you need to do more, we can basically slot into your team just to give you more resources and give you more strategy. If you're interested in that, go to our website, rocket-saas.io. You can apply for a free strategy call with me. You'll see that page that I just shared. And we can just do a free, no obligation chat about your marketing, talk about some of these campaigns maybe, and then all the other stuff that can help you scale. So that is us. I see we have a few questions come in. Let me just, if I stop sharing, I should be able to see them. Okay. So yeah, if you've got any questions, stick them in the chat. Okay, what cold email software do you use? There's plenty of tools out there. We use a tool called Instantly. That's a pretty low cost platform. I think it's like $99 a month. And that's the tool that we use to write the emails. You can do A, B, C versions of the email, and then you have to source your list. So Apollo is a classic place to, it's a low cost way to get a list of people. And then we use that to just, fire out the emails. There's lots of other nuances about it, to be honest. You need to buy like a burner domain. You don't really want to be using your main domain name to do cold email. I'm not going to go into all the technicalities of it now. Just be careful with it when you're setting that up. Make sure you're doing it right. Next question. Will people follow the sub-brand and not have brand awareness of the main brand? Yeah, so that is a concern when you're launching a sub-brand. So, it's all very well people loving your sub-brand and engaging with your sub-brand, but ultimately you want them to go to the other brand and buy your stuff. So you just need, I have the sub-brand and I have underneath like buy Rocket SaaS. So there's always that kind of brand recognition there. And then, like I said earlier, every piece of content you should have a call to action. So ideally you give people free advice with this sub-brand, and then there's a nice subtle call to action that says, if you'd like to learn more, go over to our main brand and apply for a free strategy call. Or maybe there's a good lead magnet on the main brand, like a webinar that's kind of related to the stuff you've been giving out in a free brand. That can work really well. Okay, a few more questions coming in here. You've mentioned a couple of times about these work for mid-high ticket. What about for smaller ticket MRR? What would work best for us? Let me just sort of recap some of the campaigns that I've just gone through here. I mean, things that work, my favorite one of the list is the rhythm. Is you need to be showing up in front of people regularly. So creating content in a rhythm, ideally with a podcast, that'll just get massive reach. What you need is like big numbers. You need a lot of people to be seeing you. Some of these campaigns is like, 100 people signing up is not going to be enough for you. So consistently getting into a rhythm. The waitlist campaign I've seen work particularly well for B2B SaaS brands. For smaller ticket brands. That website that I showed you, actually, that was a very low ticket brand. That was like $5 a month. So the waitlist campaign worked particularly well. Those are probably the main ones. What's the best strategy to secure the first deal? Probably the first one, probably cold email, I would say. That's probably the best one to secure the first deal. It's relatively low cost, and it can just get conversations happening. So I'd probably recommend that. Have you found Apollo's accuracy rates to be when finding business images? We've had mixed results. Yeah, I mean, you get what you pay for. Apollo's cheap and cheerful. It's $99 a month. You got the other competitors that are like Cognism, Zoom Info. They're like, what? I don't know, 10 grand a year licenses, at least, I think. Lusher kind of sits in the middle. So you might want to check out Lusher if you're willing to invest more. I think Lusher is a bit of a step up from that, but it's just one of those. You just get what you pay for. So Apollo, it has got some good ones in there, but there's a high percentage of emails and phone numbers that are just dead. Last question here. Do you tend to follow a set structure for your content calendar, or is it more flexible? Curious what you usually keep track of day to day. So the way that we do it is that we create, so there's 12 months in a year. So we create one main topic for each month. So at the start of the year, or just before the start of the year, we created 12 main topics. And then of those main topics, we created 4 subtopics, meaning we had 52 subtopics. So there's 52 weeks in a year. So that's how we structured it. But you do need flexibility. So it's all very well like doing an annual calendar, but the world is changing pretty fast, particularly the world of business. So you need to have flexibility in there. If a new, compliance thing has just been launched, or a new tool has just been announced, or something's happened in the industry, you need to be able to switch and pivot. So you need to have flexibility in there, which is fine. Like what we do is if there's something that we desperately want to talk about, like next week, we just nudge the calendar down, which is actually a good thing because it means that we got more content coming up for like next year. So that's typically. So you need to have structure. A lot of businesses make the mistake of having basically zero structure. They just create content, when something pops into their mind. And then that's why you're not creating enough content consistently. So you need that structure, but allow it to be flexible, allow it to change as the business needs and as the market evolves. Um, Cool. I think that was it. I think that was all the questions that we wanted to go through. So that is it from me. So I hope that you learned something there. I hope that there's at least one campaign that you're excited about that you can then implement into your business, and hopefully it's going to get you results. But yeah, if you do have any further questions about anything, you can find me on LinkedIn, Ryan James, Rocket SaaS. You should be able to find me. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a DM, and yeah, we can carry on the conversation there. And if you want a marketing agency to support you with your marketing, go to rocket-saas.io and we can have a chat about your marketing. But thank you so much, and see you next time on the next webinar that we'll be doing. We're doing them monthly, so you should see the next one. We'll invite you via email. But thank you so much.